picking your blog post to write about. Okay, let's pretend like we're choosing a subject that we're going to blog about. It should be something that your life, your day-to-day life is kind of already about. That's kind of my big thing that I try to drive home, is that your blogging is it's just kind of an extension of whatever your life is like. So. And it shouldn't be because you found something that other people aren't blogging about. And I have a little story about that. My first like foray into blogging years ago was I'm gonna start a whole bunch of blogs about Adobe products. So I had this buddy that was working phone support for Adobe, and he would literally answer calls and be like, "Oh, you're having a problem with Photoshop? Let me help you," or whatever. So he was having all this like direct experience with talking to people about problems they're having. I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start Adobe Photoshop Help.com, Adobe InDesign Help.com, Adobe Illustrator Help.com. Just make this network of blogs that's all about troubleshooting topics for these things. And so we had like 8 of them. We're like, oh, even better. There's like way more people use like Adobe Reader just because it's like free and everybody has that. And there's still problems with that app. So it's just going to be huge. Nobody's blogging about this stuff. And then we're like, what we'll do is we'll actually like write out the error messages that people see as like the titles of the post. So you can Google, everybody will come to our blogs when they Google that error message because it's going to have great SEO. And our enthusiasm for typing out error messages just was like, like it's just the boringest thing ever. I absolutely had no passion about typing out error messages. I just thought that it would kind of be a good idea to get traffic, but I just had no passion for it whatsoever. So it eventually came down to the point where like, dude, it's totally your turn to do a blog post. I will go buy a 12-pack if you blog today. So eventually they just plummeted. There was no passion at all. The blogs just disappeared. Ultimately, you can't have Adobe Photoshop in a URL. You'll get a takedown notice eventually. But so your life has to be about this thing that you're going to blog about already. And I'd say that everybody has a thing, right? Maybe you've heard that. Like, whatever your life is about, that's what you should blog about. It's a natural extension of your life. And I'm kind of here to say that not everybody maybe has a thing. Everybody has a life, but you may not have, like, one very specific niche thing that you're not, like, Jim the Muffler dude or whatever. You don't have, yes. you might have an interesting life. You might have like interesting niche things. You might have a variety of interests or whatever, but your life may not be perfectly suited to like having this thing that's what you blog about. I'd say that not only does not everybody have it, but probably most people don't. Most people aren't just like singularly focused on one thing. So I'm saying that, I guess this is like my movie boot camp version of like, not all of you are going to make it through this. Most people might not be good blogger. If you're jealous of that, if you kind of wish you were that person that had that like singular focus and that you could turn it into blogging success or whatever, if you're like, God, I wish I had that, then work on that. Work on your life first. I'm just still working on this, but I was trying to find this picture of kind of a douchebag looking dude. You should blog about pop collars and himself. So you have a blog, you've decided on the topic. I want to talk a little bit about like writing that blog. Like now, how should I approach that? And that's way up there. You should never run out of ideas. This blog is already about your life, so you have no shortage of ideas. Whatever you did that day, that's your idea, because your life is about it. So I'm saying that you should have like 100 ideas about this thing. So if you have a blog now and you're struggling to think, just get out a piece of paper, whatever, just start writing down ideas. That's the most important thing, at least to me about blogging, is that you just have this endless stream of ideas, just tons of them. And writer's block is for writers. You're not a writer. You're not writing a great American novel here. You're writing a blog, little tidbits of information about the subject. So it's not, I feel like it's like almost not a valid emotion sitting around like, I wonder what I should blog about today. If you're doing that, then your subject of your blog probably isn't right. Now, strategies for doing that. This is a big one. If you've ever heard Cameron Mall talk, he talks about design, but he talks about being prepared to capture inspiration and ideas about design. You should have like the tools ready and around you to capture these ideas. You probably have a phone on you. If you get a really super good idea, write it in your phone, email it to yourself, save a text message, write it on your hand, do something. If you get an idea for a blog post, it's a fleeting thing. And you will forget about it when you sit down to start typing. You'll just be like, God, why did I think that was a good idea? Even if you remember the vague idea, you probably don't remember why you were excited about that blog post. So my theory is to start writing not only the title or the loose idea of it, but the reasons why you were excited about it to begin with. Your blog is about cats, and you're like, calico cats, that is going to be so interesting. I'm going to write like better than the Wikipedia article on calico cats. But all you wrote down for your idea is calico cats. You look at that 2 days later, you're like, this no longer inspires me. But it did at one point, so try to capture that, not just the title, but just write a little bit when you're saving this idea about why that was important. And I mentioned Cameron Mall, he's got an interesting thing again. I'm sorry, that's maybe too small or whatever, but he's so drastic about this that he has these like a board, so you go diving with a diving instructor and they need to communicate with other divers, so there's a board, they can't talk because they're underwater, and so they have a marker and he writes on a board, so he can be like shark or whatever. He has that in his shower, so if he's showering and he has an idea, he can be like, and it won't wash away because of the water. That's how prepared he is to capture ideas. So if you think something in the shower and you don't have one of these things, gone. This is I use WordPress. This is my back end of WordPress. I'm under the drafts tab, and I just have all these drafts. I just kind of cleared it out recently, but I have one back from 2007 and stuff. And they have titles, but they all have me writing about why I thought that might be a cool thing to blog about. So literally using your blogging software to just start a draft and just save it for later. That's kind of my technique for a queue of ideas. Okay. Design is important. So I'm kind of a designer. I'm a designer, not afraid to say it. And I think you've probably heard this before too. The design of your blog is important. And it's another one of these things you're going to walk out of here, but obviously design is important, right? Just literally what your blog, your website looks like when people get to it is super duper important when they're looking at your blog post. And I'm saying that because it's kind of like cheating. It's like the easiest way to get authority and have people engage with your site and feel good about your site is just having a good design to it. So your content is super important, but just the aspect of design, just what it looks like, if that's good, it's going to do a lot more for the success of your site. I kind of wrote it out to a sentence is that a great blog post, meaning really well written, well researched, well presented, posted on an ugly looking site is going to do worse than an averagely written, not so great post on a really beautiful site. So I put do in quotes because I hate to be vague like that. By do, I mean more traffic, more comments, more people engaging with it, more fame and fortune for you for this awesome blog post that you did. So if you have just an averagely designed site, just do what you can to kick it up, because you can write less good content that's surrounded in this beautiful shell. People will think it's good. So I wanted to pick on this guy a little bit, Trent Walton. I don't know if you've seen his blog. He's a super smart guy, super interesting. He does this concept where his blog posts are they're art directed, as they call it, where the whole site looks like it's about this topic when you're looking at the blog post. And he did this custom header that says, "Don't make me wait." This whole blog post is about page load speeds and how that's super important to any website, really, is that if your page isn't loading super fast, people will leave. Now, when I look at this and read this, my response would be wow, Trent is so smart and he's so pretty. I just believe whatever Trent says because of how nice looking this page is. In honesty, Trent really isn't saying anything in this blog post that I've read that hasn't been said before. So I love Trent. This is well written, but it isn't this groundbreakingly amazing blog post, right? It's surrounded by pretty, so I trust Trent. Now, I Googled page load speed and went down and found some other article that was supposedly talking about page load speed. Google said it was, so that's where I went. And look at this ridiculous design. I should have blurred out the address, I guess. This is cutting off content, and where's the title of the page? And this kind of looks like content, but I'm pretty sure it's just an image because of how it's centered in there. This is also about page load performance, apparently, but it just doesn't give me any good feeling at all. I might be I'm not sure that I trust this. So even if the words, they're not, but if the words were exactly the same on Trent's post and this post, I would just trust Trent's better. I would just think that's a better blog post than this is, even though in reality they're the same. So that's why I mean it's like cheating. It's like it doesn't matter what your words are, it's just half as important how you present them. Any presentation about design has to have a landing slide for Jason San Marino. Okay, so you're writing your blog posts, you're doing good. Now we'll talk about a little bit later and kind of measuring how you're doing as a blogger. And one of those things is, Google Analytics, blah, blah, blah. You should, if you need analytics on your site, just go to Google Analytics. It's free. They give you a little snippet of code. You put it at the bottom of your site. Probably you're using a CMS of some kind, so you have to put it in one place, like footer.php or whatever, and it will give you more analytic data on your site than you could ever dream of or ever want. It's just it's awesome and it's free, and that's what you should use. There's competitors, but I'm not here to talk about that. My point, though, is that when you're a beginner blogger, you can get obsessed with this kind of stuff. You can be like, 9 hits from my site from Brazil today, that's amazing. And you're going to spend all day looking at this stuff because the charts are pretty, and it's just cool to know that people are coming to your site. But I spend maybe that much time every month looking at this stuff because the point is, you can look at all these pretty graphs all day long, but I never get any actionable data out of it, I feel like, especially on a blog. If you're doing something like a web app, there's like conversion rates and stuff like that, but on a blog, you're just looking at how many people read it. What does that matter? What is the point of that? If you, and I may be wrong, and if you want to debate me on this, like, if you can think of super actionable things you can do by looking at those pretty graphs, then you can convert that analytic data into like making better blog posts for some reason, then by all means do it. But if you're just looking at pretty graphs, then just spend that time blogging instead. And this just says, if you can find something that's actionable with that data, then do it. For example, on CSS Tricks, I found that I have a section for downloads, like freebies to download. That gets like disproportionately high traffic. It kind of makes sense, like, ooh, free stuff, people click that. So it does tell me that kind of thing, like I should spend more time on that area because it's a good traffic driver for me. But that's about the only valuable analytic thing I've had in like 3 years of looking at analytic data. So, okay, now we're measuring it. Let's say you're doing good, you got a good topic, you're blogging every day, but you're having this problem, super common problem. This just isn't doing very well. By doing, again, I mean, it's low traffic, there's not a lot of comments, I have yet to achieve fame or fortune from my blog. So that's probably the reason. You haven't given it enough time yet. Time means 2 things. The time that you spend on each post, like, if it's like, it's Monday, I gotta get a blog post up. Post. That's probably not enough time. You should like maybe sleep on it, or revisit it, rewrite it a little bit, have somebody else look at it, think of images that you can put in there. Time that you spend on each post may be too low, and time since you've started that blog. I even put, has it been a year? Have you been really trying at this thing for a year? And if you haven't, that's probably why. Now, I hate to say that's such a long time to worry about your blog links. This was probably pretty close to true, is that you should really push at this thing for like a year before you get any kind of solid community going on. More likely than time even though is that one, man. And that's another one of these drill sergeant hard truth things, man. Your content probably just isn't good enough. You need to spend more time on it. You need to just be better. I hate that so vague, but you know what it means. It means spending more time, researching better, maybe even making them longer and more comprehensive and stuff like that. The point, though, is that great articles, if you really do that and spend all this time and make a great article, it's not just going to sit there and get no comments and just be useless. If you write a really great article, it is not going to gather dust. In this super social media saturated world, everybody's trying to like be the first person to link to something and that type of thing. If they find this great blog post with no comments, you're going to get linked to it. If you write a great article, it's going to get found and it's going to get linked to. So if that's not happening for you, then write better blog posts. So okay, now your blog is doing okay. We're at the end of this. What do you do with your blog? How do you maintain it? Some strategies related to that. I'm talking about plagiarism here. It's really common, may have happened to you. If it hasn't yet, and you have a blog that's reasonably successful, it's gonna start they're called scraper blogs, but okay, so I met a guy in a bar one time. I'm just gonna go into a story because it'll explain it better. He was telling me all these shady things that he does on the internet, and then he started talking about this new thing he's developing is like this WordPress plugin that you can put in your site, and all you gotta do is put in a couple RSS feeds from other blogs that are related, and it just pulls it just steals their content and posts it as a new thing, but it's like coded to be all search engine ready and like, I don't know, and they look pretty good and official and stuff, and they just steal your content and then they fill them with ads and try and make money on it. They don't make a lot of money on each one, but if they have like 1,000 of them, which they can now do through this WordPress multi-site thing, they can just like have 1,000 sites in 5 minutes on the topic of cats or whatever, and just steal all the content from anybody else. The question though was, how do you protect against that? You just don't. That's gonna happen. You can't fight against every one of these people. You could spend all day long researching the laws around this thing, maybe hiring a lawyer, drafting emails to these people, trying to contact their hosting companies to get this stuff taken down. I mean, they're bastards. They're stealing your content. You should probably do that, but you know what? You could spend all day long just being mad, just having this whole your life is just chasing down these evil people stealing your content. Like I said, this isn't just for big bloggers. This is scraper crap. I haven't said anybody. It's ridiculous. So you want to spend all day being mad? No, spend it blogging instead. Use your time productively, doing something that you enjoy, building up your site, rather than doing all this fighting crap. It's common sense. And I'm saying, besides, your website is on a domain that's probably been around longer, it has more trust. You published that article first, so of course people want to visit your site because that's where you're going to get it first, not some scraper site. It's coded better for SEO, assuming that you're smart and you're doing a good blog design. It's probably better than theirs anyway. But it's designed better because it's custom designed to your content. It's not some generic looking thing. And the most important thing is it isn't at risk. Those scraper blogs, if Google finds out about that, which they try to, but not hard enough if you ask me, if they find out, that site's just going to get wiped off the Google universe. Because that's a serious, not okay thing to do, is steal content from other places. So your site isn't at risk for that because you write original content. Okay, commenting is a big part of blogs, and I put that into this management section. Hopefully that's your goal of blogging, is to kind of engage some readers and have some people commenting on your blog post, kind of proof that you're out there feeling good. And so I'm going to show 2 example comments from a recent post on CSS Tricks. One of them was from the Freelance Geek here, and his post was, "Excellent, many thanks." And this is Martin Herman's had a post, and he said he had some interesting stuff. So my blog is about CSS and web design and stuff. So this is like, he wanted to share a bit of CSS, and he put that block there. It was totally relevant and interesting to the post. So that's what's going on. I'll tell you what's going on with the Freelance Geek. He heard that for SEO, you got to have incoming links to your site. This is just my theory. I don't know the Freelance Geek, but he probably, or she, went and just as went out to 10 blocks a day and wrote "excellent, many thanks" and hit submit, because that is a link to their site and they think that's good for SEO. It might be, actually. But it's also ridiculous. And if people are reading my comment thread on this post, and they have to scroll like that far to get past that. That doesn't provide any value to anybody. It's just dumb. So on my particular site, you see I have these 2 little links here. That's from a plugin in WordPress called Feature Berry Comments. I'll have a link to that somewhere. But the point is, it allows you to kind of reward and unreward, penalize the other people. So this is what I do. If I click, it'll like fade in. For these ones, a lot of times, if I can tell they're like a real human being that probably wrote that, I'll hit bury, and what it does is like, if you're reading my comment thread, it's actually completely gone. Like, just people don't have to read it because I'm trying to make the comment reading experience better for every single person who visits my site. So that gets buried, and then this good post that I think people should pay attention to when they're scrolling down the things, I just applied some sound to it, this blue thing, and there's like this star in the background. So if you're reading through this list of comment threads, you can be like, oh, that one has a blue liner on it. You might not even realize that's a featured comment, but it will stop your eye and you'll read it more and use the comment. So I just think that curates a nice comment reading experience for people. If they can tell, not only am I writing these blog posts, but I'm making sure that the comments that people leave on them are also an interesting reading experience. They don't have to read, nice post. Those are gone. And it had been very kind of like, why did you just delete them? Why did you even bother with the buried thing? Well, it says how many buried comments there are, and because they can see that there's some possibility of me burying your comment, I think it just encourages better commenting behavior. I'm actually rather proud of the comments that get left at CSS Tricks. Usually the comment threads are really pretty nice. So it's just using that plugin is the only thing I'm doing there, basically. So I wanted to wrap up really quick with 3 hot tips for blogging success. I'm saying 1, well-written, well-researched, interesting article equals 15,700 poorly written, poorly researched, not interesting articles. That's highly scientific. If you can write 15,701 poorly written articles, then you win. Then do that. But then again, what I'm saying is just don't worry about frequency. Frequency doesn't matter. It's a blog, not CNN.com. You know, people go to CNN because they want news every single day. They don't come to your blog necessarily for that reason, unless you're like the daily news blog. But it's probably not that. Do not feel pressure to post before you're ready, before this post is ready to go. You're like, oh, you know, I always post on Monday, so I gotta post on Monday, publish. You know, don't do that. Post Tuesday, post Wednesday instead, and take time to make the post good. So, and even if somebody whines about it, sometimes you'll get that like, when's the next post coming or something like that. Eventually, and the only reason they're whining like that at all is because they're used to your blog being awesome. Because that's kind of proof positive that they want more from you. So that's good, and you'd be doing that very person a disservice if you posted early and you posted crappier content because you weren't ready for it. So the last one here is that it may take you, like I said, over a year of super hard work to have any real success at this thing. You know, it should be an extension of your life anyway. So you know, it's not like something that you have to quit your job to blog. It can be a side project anyway. It's just an extension of your life that's already about this topic. And I put this as one of my favorite metaphors that nobody expects that to be easy, you know? People know when you buy a guitar, you gotta take lessons, you gotta put time in, you gotta practice, and you can't just also sit on your couch and go like this. You have to put effort into figuring out the fingering, learning how to do it. The expectation for guitars, for some reason, is right on. Everybody realizes that if you want to learn how to do that, you have to work. But blogging, for some reason, has more of a like get rich quick theme. They're like, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to blog about help requests that are error codes on my product. So it takes practice. You have to do it for a long time. It has to take effort. You have to try to get better at doing it. And it just takes a long time. So that's my recipe for having a good blog. Thank you, everybody. I have a personal blog.